thanks for coming onto this video to sort of tell us a little bit about yourself for our upcoming conference. We're so excited.
First, I should say I'm just delighted and honored to be selected to be the keynote speaker. And I was actually thinking that my very first conference was when I was an undergraduate, not a graduate student, and I went to a Music Theory Midwest conference. So I really believe in these regional conferences. They're small, they're warm, they're friendly, and that was the one moment where I thought, aha, there are other music theory nerds like me, and I felt like I found my people. So I'm especially happy to be able to come and present at this conference. I'm zooming in from Oregon. I teach at the University of Oregon, and I've been teaching here for 20 years. I'm from the Midwest originally. Essentially, I'm obsessed with song. I'm obsessed with anything that has words and music, and have written a lot about art songs from different eras. And I'm especially interested in finding repertoire that's on the margins, that's not in the canon of music that most of us study. And in many cases, that's songs by women composers, but any composers that I think are wonderful and great that are not well known. I'm always digging for new repertoire and trying to explore how words and music relate to each other.
I absolutely love that. And I have really come to know your scholarship, not just through your publications and your interactions with the society, but through your amazing podcast, Resounding Verse, which this might be a good plug for that. But I've loved some of your analyses. Is that sort of things you might be talking about in your keynote?
Yeah, actually, I mentioned canons. So the keynote is about canons. And essentially my claim is that when we think of canon, I think when people in music theory think of canon, we're often thinking of the repertoire that we teach, that we write about, that we study. And this is true in the performance world too, like the repertoire that gets performed in concerts. Like that's the canon. It's music. But what I've discovered is that by expanding the music that I study and teach and write about, I end up expanding the ways that I analyze music. So one of my claims is that expanding what I call the repertorial canon, the kind of music we look at, necessarily leads to expanding the analytical canon, the way we think about music. And I will talk about a couple women song composers. One is Lili Boulanger, an incredible French composer who died at the age of 24, who was just incredibly gifted. And looking at her music has required me to think a lot more about texture, which is a parameter of music that we don't often discuss much, so it's expanded the way that I listen. And the other composer is a little known but amazing German composer named Marie Franz, who wrote music that seems simple on the face of it. And you know, as a music theorist, we like complex things. We like to talk about things that break norms and kind of break all the rules and deform the conventions. And this music shows me that sometimes the simplest music is the most powerful and affecting. And so I've had to analyze differently, listen differently for things that are simpler. How it relates to, you mentioned my podcast, one of the final points I make is that looking at different repertoire and learning to analyze in different ways has kind of changed my understanding of what it means to be a music theorist. I used to think that being a music theorist means like doing really complicated things, impressing people with my grand ideas, and I've come to feel that for me, it's really much more about collaboration than I ever realized, and communicating with broader audiences, because, you know, if you want to find music on the margins and get it in people's ears, it requires not just writing about it if you're a music theorist, but teaming up with performers to get it performed, doing podcast episodes about it so that it reaches a slightly wider audience. So the whole talk is about different kinds of canons and how they interact, and how that's changed the way I think about my role as a music theorist.
I'm hoping that this will spark some interest and bring some new voices into our conference, especially vocal music sort of has a little niche for analysis. So this could bring in all kinds of new perspectives.
Well, I'm really excited to be in Denton, to get to see you and everyone else. I can't wait, and it's going to be a wonderful time. So thanks so much for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.